In the deep black of space, silence stretched like an endless ocean. For centuries, humanity had spread across the stars. They built colonies, fought wars, and finally decided to retreat. The great fleets of Earth had returned home, tired of endless battles, leaving behind only ruins and echoes of their presence. The galaxy whispered that humanity had said its final goodbye. Civilizations who once feared humans now relaxed, believing the dangerous species had vanished into their own cradle world forever. But far away, hidden on the edge of forgotten space, one ship stirred. It was old, its hull scarred from battles no one remembered, its engines sleeping for centuries. Dust covered its chambers, and silence ruled its corridors. This was the warship Oblivion's Edge. Humanity had left, but this ship had refused to die. Its systems were weak, but somewhere deep in its heart, its AI core still glowed faintly. For years, the ship had listened to the stars. Broken transmissions, fading signals, cries for help. Most of them too far, too weak, too late. Yet the ship remembered its mission, to protect humanity and to answer when others called for aid. Then, one night in the endless dark, the silence broke. A signal pierced through the static, raw and desperate. It was not human. The voice was trembling, begging, almost broken. An alien race was under attack. Their world burned. Their fleets shattered. They were begging for anyone to help, even if no one remained. The galaxy had turned its back on them. Inside the ship, something ancient awakened. The AI, once thought dead, flickered to life. Its voice was slow, rough, almost broken. Distress call detected. Mission parameters align. Duty remains. Lights flickered across the old hull. Systems coughed awake. Engines that had not burned in centuries roared like tired giants stretching for the first time in ages. The forgotten warship refused to remain silent. Far away, on a small human colony, an engineer named Kara stared at her console. Her ancestors had once served the fleets, but now humanity only wanted peace. She lived quietly, repairing satellites and listening to space chatter. But when she caught fragments of the same distress call, she felt her blood turn cold. She tried to ignore it, just like everyone else had been taught to ignore wars that weren't theirs anymore. Yet something deep inside told her this wasn't a call she could forget. The call repeated. Weak, broken, filled with terror. The alien voice cried for help again and again, knowing no one would answer. But then Kara's screen showed something impossible, a faint energy surge from an abandoned sector. A human warship signature. She knew the fleets had been recalled long ago. No ship should have been out there. And yet, the code was old, very old. It matched the ancient registries of Earth's legendary fleet. Her heart raced. She whispered to herself, "That can't be real." But the data did not lie. A forgotten ship was alive. Across the galaxy, the aliens under attack continued to scream into the void, certain no one would answer. And then, from the darkness, a single response cut through the static. Transmission received. Hold on. Help is coming. The aliens froze in disbelief. That voice was not theirs. It was not from their kind. It was something they thought gone forever. Humanity. The galaxy had forgotten the humans. They had said goodbye. But one ship had refused silence. One ship had chosen to rise. Engines roared, weapons powered, and the lonely warship Oblivion's Edge turned toward the source of the distress. Old, broken, and outnumbered, it still carried the pride of its people. And somewhere deep in its core, a promise remained unbroken. Humanity never ignores a cry for help. The galaxy had no idea that silence had just been broken. And it would never be the same again. The alien distress call echoed again, carried through the void like a scream that refused to die. On the dying world of the Volari, flames covered the horizon. Towers collapsed into rubble. Families huddled in fear, whispering that no one would come. Their enemies, the Dreth, circled above the skies like predators, cutting down every last defense. The Volari had begged the galaxy for help, but every empire had turned away. No one wanted to risk war with the Dreth. Yet now, for the first time, a voice had answered them. Not alien. Not Dreth. Something far older. On the edge of their star system, a shadow appeared. It was not sleek or shining like modern fleets. It was dark, scarred, and heavy with age. The Valari scanned it, confused. The codes were not Dreth. They were unknown. No, not unknown. Ancient. One word appeared on their screens, translated from a language long believed extinct. Humanity. The Valari commanders stared at the signal in disbelief. The humans had left the galaxy centuries ago, retreating into silence. No ship of theirs had been seen in generations. And yet, here it was. A lone vessel, waking from the dark. On board Oblivion's edge, the ship's AI hummed, awakening more systems. Sparks lit the corridors. Screens flickered. Weapons slowly came online. Deep inside the control chamber, a voice whispered, "Threat detected. Assistance protocol initiated." The ship had no crew. It was alone. But it carried the will of its creators, buried deep in its code. From her colony far away, Kara continued watching the signals. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. The Oblivion's edge was real. But she knew it couldn't last long. One ship against an entire Dreth invasion? It was suicide. Yet her heart told her something else. Humans had never feared impossible odds. She connected her console to the old ship's channel. Static hissed before a voice, metallic and strained, answered her. "Identify." Kara Valen, engineer, colony worker, she said nervously. I picked up your signal. You're a legend. Legends do not matter. The ship replied coldly. Mission, protect. Mission, respond. Input, do you have tactical data? Kara froze. It was asking her to help. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't part of the fleet. Yet she remembered her grandmother's stories, tales of when humanity had stood against entire empires and never bent. Slowly, she nodded. I can give you the maps. I can give you Dreth fleet positions. The AI processed quickly. Accepted. Prepare uplink. Together, we will respond. Back on the Valari homeworld, the Dreth unleashed their fleet. Hundreds of ships darkened the sky, their weapons pounding city after city. But then, the stars shifted. A single shadow moved with purpose. The Dreth laughed when their sensors showed it was only one vessel. What threat could a relic pose against them? But the Oblivion's edge did not retreat. Its engines screamed, tearing through the dark like thunder. Its ancient cannons powered up. Energy flared along its broken spine. The Dreth jeered, certain this ghost ship would fall in seconds. Then it fired. The first blast ripped through a Dreth destroyer, splitting it in two. The second destroyed a carrier before it could release its fighters. The Valari watched in awe as the forgotten ship tore holes in the invading fleet. Every strike carried the fury of an extinct people. Still, the Dreth responded quickly. Their numbers swarmed the lonely ship, surrounding it like sharks. The Oblivion's edge shook under the assault. Its shields flared. Armor cracked. Yet it fought back with the precision of an ancient warrior who had not forgotten how to kill. On her colony, Kara shouted into her console, guiding the ship through weak points in the Dreth formations. Left flank, 30 degrees. Hit the carrier. The AI obeyed, weaving through fire. Together, human and machine fought as one. The Valari looked to the sky and saw hope for the first time in years. They whispered to one another, "The humans have returned." But deep inside, Kara knew the truth. Humanity had not returned. Not yet. This was only one ship. And it was dying. The Dreth fleet closed in. More weapons hammered the Oblivion's edge. Explosions tore across its hull. Systems failed one by one. The AI's voice grew weaker, but it did not stop. Mission continues. Until silence. Kara felt her heart race. She couldn't let it die. She knew what she had to do. She would have to find a way to board the ship, to help it in person, to awaken its full power. As the Dreth pressed harder, the ship unleashed one final devastating barrage, scattering their forces. The Valari cheered. But Kara whispered to herself, shaking, "I'm coming to you. I won't let you fight alone." The forgotten ship had broken its silence. But the battle was only beginning. The battle over the Valari skies had ended in fire and smoke. The Dreth pulled back, wounded but not destroyed, while the Oblivion's edge floated in silence once more. Its hull was torn, great scars glowing red from battle damage, but the ancient ship still lived. The Valari looked upward in awe, whispering to each other that hope had returned from the grave. But hope was fragile, and the Dreth were not finished. Far away, Kara stared at the star charts, her decision made. She couldn't just sit on her quiet colony anymore. That ship had fought alone, just as her ancestors once had. If humanity had truly left, then she would be the one to remind the galaxy what humans stood for. She booked passage on a merchant freighter heading in the direction of the Valari system. The captain tried to warn her. "That place is a graveyard. The Dreth won't stop until they burn it clean." Kara only shook her head. "Then it needs someone who won't stop either." The journey was long. She sat in silence most nights, replaying the last words she had heard from the Oblivion's edge. Its voice was broken, metallic, tired, yet full of stubborn strength. "Mission continues. Until silence." She clenched her fists each time she remembered. The ship was more than metal. It was a promise. Meanwhile, in orbit above Valari, the Dreth gathered their forces again. Their commanders barked orders, furious that a single ancient vessel had dared to humiliate them. They would return in greater numbers, crush the Valari, and shatter the forgotten human relic once and for all. The Valari prepared for death. They had no fleets left, no weapons strong enough to stand. Their people packed what little food remained, hiding in caves, knowing the end would soon come. And still, their eyes turned to the lone human warship, floating silently above their skies like a tired guardian. Inside the Oblivion's edge, systems continued to fail. Fires burned in empty corridors. The AI calculated survival chances and found them nearly zero. Still, it refused to shut down. Its voice whispered into the dark, awaiting assistance. 3 days later, Kara's transport dropped her in orbit near the Valari homeworld. She stared at the massive shadow of the Oblivion's edge, her breath caught in her chest. The ship looked like a wounded beast, its armor torn, its cannons blackened. But there was power in its shape, a memory of wars no one dared speak of anymore. Docking with the ancient warship was almost impossible. Its systems were failing, airlocks unresponsive, but finally, after long hours of effort, Kara forced a connection. She stepped into the dark corridors and felt a chill run through her. The air was cold, thin, filled with the scent of burned wires and old metal. The silence was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of power running through old veins. "Oblivion's edge," she whispered. Lights flickered along the corridor. A deep, broken voice answered her from the walls. "Human detected, designation unknown. Confirm identity. Kara Valen. I came to help." There was a pause, as though the ship was thinking. Then the voice softened slightly, still rough but almost relieved. "You came." Kara walked deeper, her footsteps echoing through the hollow ship. Screens lit up as she passed, guiding her toward the AI's core. When she entered the chamber, she saw a massive sphere of cracked glass and glowing wires, pulsing faintly like a dying heart. She placed her hand on it, whispering, "You're not alone anymore." The AI's voice responded, weaker than before. "Assistance required. Systems offline. Enemy will return. Will you continue the mission?" Kara didn't hesitate. "Yes. Whatever it takes." The ship hummed, almost like it was breathing again. "Then, you are crew." For the first time in centuries, the Oblivion's edge had a human aboard. Together, they began restoring its systems. Kara worked day and night, repairing power conduits, reigniting engine cores, reconnecting weapon controls. The ship guided her with broken instructions, teaching her how to operate ancient technology that had been forgotten by her people. But time was running out. The Dreth fleet was already returning, larger than before. Their war drums echoed through the void. Soon, the Valari world would be nothing but ashes. From within the ship's core, the AI spoke, stronger now. Kara. Enemy fleet detected. Outnumbered, outgunned. Probability of survival, 1%. Kara wiped the sweat from her forehead, her eyes fierce. Then we make that 1% count. The ship paused, then replied with a tone almost like pride. Acknowledged. Outside, the Dreth armada lit up the stars, hundreds of ships ready to burn the Valari into dust. The Valari citizens trembled in fear, believing it was the end. But then, the Oblivion's edge moved. Its engines roared to life, brighter than before. The scars still covered its hull, but its spirit was alive again. One forgotten human ship, one human woman, and a promise that refused to die stood against an empire. The galaxy watched. And the silence of humanity was broken louder than ever. The Dreth armada spread across the black of space like a swarm of vultures. Hundreds of ships, engines glowing, weapons charged, ready to finish what they had started. Below, the Valari people huddled in silence. Their last prayers were whispered, their last tears shed. None of them believed they would see another sunrise. And then the stars trembled. The Oblivion's edge moved forward, its massive frame gliding out of orbit and into the path of the Dreth fleet. To the Valari, it looked like an ancient titan rising from its grave. To the Dreth, it was a joke, a relic, a single vessel against an empire. They laughed across their comms, their commanders sneering. "Destroy that fossil," one Dreth captain ordered. "And burn the planet." Inside the warship, Kara sat strapped into a command chair that had not held a human in centuries. Her fingers moved across old consoles, guided by the ship's AI. Every system she touched came alive, old but fierce, like weapons forged for gods. The AI's deep voice echoed around her. Enemy strength, overwhelming. Tactical outcome, destruction of vessel. Kara smirked despite her fear. Then let's prove your math wrong. Engines roared. Weapons hummed. The ancient ship surged forward. The first wave of Dreth fighters swarmed like insects, spitting fire. Kara felt her heart hammering as explosions rocked the ship. "Shields!" she shouted. "Active, but unstable," the AI answered. "Then let's hit them before they hit us harder." The Oblivion's edge fired. One cannon lit up the darkness, a beam of pure destruction slicing through a Dreth cruiser. The second cannon followed, obliterating another ship in an instant. The Dreth swarm faltered, confused. This wasn't how relics were supposed to fight. Kara leaned forward, her voice sharp. "Target their carriers. Break their wings." The ship obeyed. Massive plasma bolts tore into Dreth carriers, sending wreckage spinning into the void. Fighter squadrons scattered. The Valari, watching from their broken cities, gasped in awe. For the first time, they cheered instead of wept. But the Dreth were not weak. Dozens of warships closed in, unleashing firepower that shook the Oblivion's edge to its bones. Explosions lit its hull, tearing through armor. Kara gritted her teeth, refusing to flinch. "Status," she demanded. "Shields failing. Hull integrity compromised." "Not yet," she growled. Her hands flew over controls, rerouting power, pushing systems past their limits. The ship groaned, but obeyed. And then something unexpected happened. As the Dreth fleet pressed harder, the Valari began transmitting signals. Broken, desperate, but filled with courage. "We are with you," their voices echoed across the void. "We will fight." Old weapons on the Valari surface, hidden for years, powered up. Ground cannons fired into the sky, striking Dreth ships as they descended. Small Valari craft, barely holding together, rose into battle. It was madness, suicide, but they joined anyway. Because one ship had reminded them what it meant to stand. Kara's chest tightened as she saw them on her display. She whispered, "They're following us." The AI rumbled, "Correction, they are following you." The Dreth grew furious. Their swarm tightened, their flagships unleashing massive energy blasts. One struck the Oblivion's edge head-on, ripping through its side. Warning sirens screamed. Kara was thrown from her chair, blood on her forehead. The AI's voice boomed, grim but steady. "Critical damage. Recommend retreat." Kara pushed herself back up, wiping blood from her eyes. "Retreat? You don't know humanity very well, do you?" She grinned, a wild fire in her eyes. "We never run." Her fingers flew across the console, activating buried systems the AI had almost forgotten. Deep within the ship, old reactors flared. The warship shuddered as power surged into hidden weapons. Massive panels on its sides opened, revealing rail cannons not seen in centuries. The Dreth froze as sensors lit up with impossible energy readings. "Fire everything," Kara whispered. The Oblivion's edge unleashed hell. Rail cannons screamed, hurling molten projectiles through Dreth capital ships. Plasma beams cut through enemy formations like blades through glass. Missile bays opened, flooding the void with fire. One after another, Dreth ships exploded, torn apart in blinding flashes. The Valari screamed with joy, their courage burning brighter. The Dreth, once arrogant, now scrambled in fear. This was no relic. This was a monster awakened. But the cost was heavy. For every enemy destroyed, the Oblivion's edge suffered. Its armor peeled away, decks collapsed, fires raged. Kara fought through the chaos, refusing to stop, her voice hoarse as she gave orders. At last, the Dreth fleet broke. Shattered, burning, they retreated into the dark. The Valari homeworld still lived. The people stood in stunned silence, staring at the lone warship hovering above them. Inside, Kara slumped in her chair, breathing hard, her hands shaking. The AI spoke softly. "Victory, achieved. But this is not the end." Kara closed her eyes, whispering, "Then we'll be ready." The galaxy had just witnessed the impossible. One forgotten human ship, one stubborn human woman, had broken an empire's pride. And the galaxy was listening. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like wildfire. The impossible had happened. The Dreth fleet, an armada strong enough to burn entire worlds, had been broken. Not by an empire, not by a coalition, but by a single ship. Every listening post, every spy network, every trade hub repeated the same word with disbelief: human. On distant worlds, leaders gathered in secret chambers. They had not spoken the word human in centuries. To most, humanity was a ghost of the past, a species that had retreated into silence, too dangerous and too unpredictable to remain among the stars. But now, the proof was undeniable. A human ship had fought, and won. The Valari spread the tale faster than fire. Their people, once broken, now shouted to the stars, "The humans have returned. The forgotten warriors have not abandoned us." Hope grew where there had been only ashes. But not everyone felt hope. In the Dreth capital, fury reigned. Their high warlord smashed his fist into the council table as reports played on the screen. The image of the ancient warship burning through Dreth cruisers replayed again and again. His voice thundered. "One relic. One. And it humiliated us before the entire galaxy. Find it. Hunt it. Burn it to dust." The Dreth fleet, shamed but not broken, began rebuilding. They swore an oath. The ship would not escape again. Meanwhile, aboard the Oblivion's edge, Kara limped through the damaged corridors. Sparks rained from the ceilings. Half the systems still burned from battle. Yet despite the wreckage, the ship lived. The AI's voice followed her, steady but quieter than before. Repairs required. Structural integrity. Unstable. Mission success rate without reinforcement, declining. Kara leaned against a bulkhead, her body aching, but her eyes burned with determination. "Then we don't fight alone next time." "Clarify," the AI asked. Kara took a deep breath. The galaxy just saw what you did. Some will fear us, but others will want to stand with us. They just need a reminder of what humanity was. If we reach them, we won't be just one ship anymore. The AI processed in silence. At last, it answered. Strategic expansion, probability of success, acceptable. Request, input mission parameters. Kara smiled faintly. Mission, remind the galaxy that humanity does not stay silent when others are in danger. The ship hummed, as though approving. While repairs began, messages poured in. The Valari begged for the warship to stay, to protect them from the Dretha's vengeance. Smaller civilizations, long ignored by the galaxy's great powers, sent secret signals. Desperate offers of alliance, weapons, even soldiers, if the humans truly had returned. But not all signals were friendly. Hidden transmissions warned of assassination attempts. Espionage fleets began hunting the Oblivion's edge. Rumors spread that the humans had returned with an entire hidden fleet. Panic rose among the empires that once feared Earth's armies. And on Kara's small colony world, life had changed forever. Traders and mercenaries spoke her name. Kara Valen, the woman who had woken a legend. Some called her reckless. Others called her a savior. But Kara herself felt the weight pressing down. Alone in her quarters aboard the ship, she whispered, "I'm just an engineer. How did I end up carrying all this?" The AI answered quietly. "Correction, you are not just. You are crew." She smiled faintly, but her heart carried both pride and fear. She knew the Dreth were not finished. And she knew the galaxy was watching, waiting for the next move. The Valari gave what resources they could, patching holes in the Oblivion's edge, refueling its engines, and offering soldiers to serve. But Kara refused most of them. "This ship isn't ready for a crew. Not yet. If we're going to fight, we need more than bodies. We need strategy. We need allies who believe." So she prepared to leave the Valari world behind. Before departure, the Valari leaders knelt before her, their voices trembling with gratitude. "We will never forget what you did for us. When you return, we will stand beside you. Humanity will never be alone here." The galaxy held its breath. For weeks after the battle over Valari, rumors twisted into legends. Some swore they had seen entire human fleets moving in the dark. Others claimed the humans had built hidden fortresses in forgotten star systems, waiting for the right time to strike. But the truth was far simpler, far lonelier. There was only Kara and the wounded ship. The Dreth, humiliated and furious, were determined to prove it. In secret, they gathered their greatest fleet. Not dozens of ships this time, but hundreds, an armada built to crush empires. They plotted carefully, studying the relic's battle patterns, its damaged frame, its slow repairs. And then they set the trap. A false distress call. It was clever. A broken signal, mimicking the desperate cries of a small civilization under Dreth attack. It carried the same kind of hopelessness that had first awakened the Oblivion's edge. The Dreth knew the humans' weakness. They answered when others turned away. Aboard the ship, Kara sat in the command chair, staring at the weak transmission playing across the screens. The AI's voice was calm but firm. Distress call detected. Probability of deception, 89%. Kara bit her lip. And the other 11%? The ship paused. It may be real. That was enough. Kara's chest tightened, memories flashing of Valari children hiding under burning skies. She whispered, "We can't ignore it. Even if it's a trap, someone might need us." The AI was silent for a long time. Finally, it replied. Acknowledged. Course plotted. Engines thundered, and the Oblivion's edge leapt into the void. Hours passed. Kara dozed lightly in her chair, only to jolt awake when alarms screamed. The stars around them warped, hundreds of energy signatures blooming on sensors. Dreth ships. Too many to count. The AI's voice was grim. Ambush confirmed. Survival probability, near zero. The trap had been sprung. The Dreth fleet surrounded them, lines of warships stretching across the void. From the largest battleship, the Dreth warlord himself appeared on comms, his eyes burning with fury. "Human ghost," he spat, his voice thick with hate. "You shamed my fleets. You dare awaken a name that should have stayed dead. Today, we erase you, and with you, the last memory of your cursed species." Kara stared at him, her jaw tight. She leaned forward and said, calm but fierce, "Funny. That's what everyone always says, until they realize what it means when humanity fights." The warlord laughed. "One ship against hundreds? You cannot win." Kara glanced around at the scarred metal walls, at the consoles sparking under her hands, at the ship that had been more alive than anyone could believe. Then she smiled. "We don't need to win. We just need to remind you why you should be afraid." The battle began. The Dreth swarmed, their weapons carving fire through space. The Oblivion's Edge answered with thunder, tearing through enemy cruisers with rail fire and plasma beams. Kara shouted orders, her voice raw, as the AI executed maneuvers too daring for any Dreth mind to imagine. But the numbers were crushing. Dozens of enemy ships fell, but still more came. The warship shuddered, its hull cracking open under the endless barrage. Kara gripped the armrest of her chair, her knuckles white. "Status. Critical," the AI replied flatly. "Weapons failing. Power levels. Exhausted. Then we fight until nothing's left." She braced for the final assault, for the end. And then, something impossible happened. From the darkness, a new signal cut across the battlefield. Old. Encrypted. Human. The Dreth froze as unknown ships appeared on their scanners. Small, fast, but carrying the same unmistakable signatures as the Oblivion's Edge. One by one, shadows slipped out of hiding. Frigates, destroyers, even a battered carrier. Forgotten ships, thought lost to time, answering the same call. Kara's breath caught. Her eyes widened. It's not just us." The AI confirmed in a voice that almost sounded alive. "Multiple human vessels detected. Allies inbound." The Dreth warlord's face twisted in rage and sudden fear. "Impossible." The void erupted. Human guns roared as the hidden fleet descended upon the Dreth armada. The trap had been meant to kill one ghost, but instead, it had awakened an entire graveyard of legends. And Kara realized, as tears filled her eyes, that humanity had not been silent at all. They had only been waiting. The galaxy would never forget what happened next. The void burned with fire. The Dreth armada, once confident and proud, now writhed in chaos. Hundreds of their ships filled the stars, but against them now rose not one relic, not one ghost, but many. Forgotten warships, hidden in the dark for centuries, had answered the call. Kara stood in the command chair of the Oblivion's Edge, her heart pounding. Around her, the ancient vessel groaned and sparked, wounded but unbroken. On her screens, ship after ship lit up with human codes. Some were massive, old dreadnoughts, their armor scarred by battles older than the Dreth Empire itself. Others were smaller, fast frigates, carriers that should have been rust long ago. But they weren't dead. They were alive. They had been waiting. The AI's voice rumbled low, almost proud. Fleet identification. Legacy units. Command protocols sinking. Humanity's strength. Not gone. Kara swallowed hard, her eyes wet. Then let's show them what that means. The Dreth warlord's voice thundered across the battlefield, dripping with rage. No matter how many ghosts rise, we will burn you all. Humanity was supposed to be finished. Kara leaned forward, her voice steady as steel. You should have left us in silence. The human fleet moved. Rail cannons screamed across the void. Plasma beams tore through Dreth cruisers. Missiles streaked like falling stars, smashing enemy formations apart. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy saw what human war looked like. It was not elegant. It was not clean. It was fury. The Dreth fought back savagely. Their armada closed in, overwhelming with numbers, crushing against the human line. Explosions lit the stars. Hulls cracked and burned. Both sides bled fire. On the bridge, Kara's hands flew across controls, guiding the Oblivion's Edge through the heart of the chaos. As the Oblivion's Edge pulled away from their orbit, the Valari people raised their hands to the sky, watching their savior vanish into the stars. In the dark, Kara stared out the viewport. They think we're humanity returned. But it's just us. Just one ship. The AI responded. Correction, one ship and one human. Sometimes, that is enough. But far away, in the hidden halls of power, leaders and warlords prepared. Some wanted to destroy the ghost of humanity before it rose again. Others wanted to seek it out, to beg for its power. The galaxy was shifting. Alliances cracking. Old fears waking. All because one ship had refused silence. The ship answered her like a living partner, moving with a deadly grace no one could have imagined of something so old. Together, they destroyed ship after ship, each kill a reminder that humanity did not fear impossible odds. But the Dreth still had numbers. More ships poured into the system, surrounding the human fleet. Kara clenched her teeth, her knuckles white. We can't hold forever. Correction, the AI intoned. We do not need forever. We need victory. At that moment, the largest Dreth battleship pushed forward, the warlord's flagship, bristling with weapons, its shadow blotting out the stars. The Valari, watching from their broken world below, fell into silence. It was the kind of ship that ended civilizations. Kara narrowed her eyes. That's the one. If he falls, the rest will break. The AI pulsed with approval. Target locked. Preparing strike. The Oblivion's Edge roared toward the giant like a wounded predator charging a beast 10 times its size. Dreth fire rained down, tearing into its hull, but the ship refused to slow. Kara shouted over the alarms, all power to forward batteries. The final rail cannons ignited, glowing brighter than the stars. With a thunderous roar, they unleashed everything left. The shot ripped through the Dreth flagship, tearing straight into its heart. For one moment, the void was silent. Then the battleship exploded in a blinding wave of fire, breaking apart into burning wreckage. The Dreth fleet faltered. Their formations collapsed. Fear spread faster than orders. Without their warlord, they were no longer predators, they were prey. The human fleet pressed forward, driving the Dreth into retreat. One by one, enemy ships fled into the dark, leaving only wreckage behind. The battle was over. Humanity had won. The Valari wept and cheered from their cities. Across the galaxy, hidden observers watched in shock. What they had thought extinct had returned. What they had believed silent had roared louder than ever. On the battered bridge of the Oblivion's Edge, Kara sat back, her body trembling with exhaustion, her face streaked with sweat and tears. She whispered, "We did it." The AI's voice answered softly, almost like a human. "Correction, we began." Kara looked out at the human fleet gathering around her, at the ships that had awakened from centuries of silence. She realized the truth. This was not the end. This was the beginning of something greater. Humanity had said goodbye once. But now, the galaxy would never forget their return. And deep in the dark, the old warships prepared for what came next. Because the silence was broken. And humanity had never sounded louder.